They're not going to know anything about that. The only question that will matter is, are they living in a free and strong country? That's the only thing that's going to matter. Are they able to carry out their God-given rights that are protected under our Constitution and under the laws of the United States, or are they not? And one of the things that I think is really important that I've observed throughout this process, as I sit here in a largely empty chamber with 2 members of Congress, a lot of my colleagues, are catching their flights home after a few weeks of drama surrounding the speaker. One of the things that I've observed in this debate about who should be the speaker and what House Republicans want to do with the majority is that my Democrat colleagues are nowhere to be found on any of the issues that matter to the people I represent and the vast majority of the American people. That is the simple truth. With all due respect to my Democrat colleagues, some of whom I consider friends and I've worked to move legislation with, happy to have debates with, they are utterly missing in action when it comes to anything that matters to the people that I represent. $33.5 trillion in debt, $2 trillion a year in deficit spending, and my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and frankly, a decent number of my own colleagues on this side of the aisle, are completely missing in action when it comes to figuring out how to stop spending money we don't have. When it comes to open borders, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle not only won't sit down to figure out solutions, they're actively working to thwart any possible path to doing what we need to do to secure the border of the United States. And the American people, particularly the Texans that I represent, are looking with abject horror on the utter and complete failure that is this body and the Senate and the White House's response to wide open borders. And in fact, their active engagement in creating the environment where our borders can be exploited. So again, just to be very specific, the American people that I talk to and my constituents that I represent, they want us to stop spending money we don't have and to stop racking up debt. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle refuse to do anything about it. The constituents I represent, the American people I talk to, want us to secure the border of the United States and stop the endless streaming of fentanyl into our communities, the empowerment of cartels, the empowerment of China, the destruction, the murder, the mayhem, the deaths of migrants, the deaths of our own citizens, all for wide open borders that are directly contrary to law. The American people want us to stop it. My Democratic colleagues refuse and in fact are all too happy to participate in the human smuggling chain that is decimating Americans and migrants. That is the truth. It is generally, observably speaking, an undeniable truth. My Democratic colleagues will not respond to the constituents that I represent or the American people I talk to who are asking for our military to focus on its core mission rather than be turned into a social engineering experiment in a uniform. The American people don't want that. They don't want to destroy the culture of the military. They don't want to undermine the ability of the military to perform. They don't want recruiting to be in the basement. They want their military to be very good at killing people and destroying things when called into action to do so. They want it to be used sparingly. They don't want to be involved in endless wars. They don't want us to be engaged in foreign entanglements, to use the wording of President Washington, endlessly. They want us to stop that. My Democratic colleagues have no interest in ensuring that our national defense, that our military is focused on its mission rather than on funding transgender surgeries, funding offices of so-called diversity, equity, inclusion, and chief diversity officers, and all of the things that divide us up by race, that divide us up instead of making us unified. All of the things that the people that I represent, all of those things, the weaponization of government against the people, concerned about an FBI targeting parents, concerned about an FBI that is politicized, a ATF that wants to undermine your ability to defend yourself and your communities, even while my Democratic colleagues refuse to stand by law enforcement and ensure that our communities are safe.